Hello and welcome to the Larger Than Necessary First Player Token podcast. My name is Chris.
I'm Euan.
I'm David.
Why are you laughing, David?
You made me laugh before we start.
I'm a bad influence. This is part 2 of our Tabletop Scotland 2019 episode. Welcome back, boys.
Thank you.
Hiya.
It's been a while.
Welcome back, listeners. Yep, it's been at least 15 minutes.
15 minutes in 5 years.
It feels like 5 years since we put out a proper episode.
We're a bit rusty.
Let's get back into talking about Tabletop Scotland. There's a couple of things that we didn't mention in part 1, mostly deliberate, so we could talk about it in part 2. The first sort of other thing that was at Tabletop Scotland, quite a big thing, was the bringing by.
Ooh.
So we actually said at the start of the last episode that the first thing we did when we got there was that we went upstairs and had a good moan with the guys from We're Not Wizards. That's not entirely true, because actually what we did is we stood in the queue for the bringing by for a good 45 minutes.
It's true.
So the bringing by, for those of you not familiar, is just a place that you can take your board games, secondhand board games that you no longer require, and put them in for sale. And it's all for a good cause, because a good chunk of the money that is made from that goes to, I believe it's Macmillan. It's a cancer charity.
Huh. Cool.
So it is all for a good cause. And I took, I think, 10 games, put them in the bringing by. Which was absolutely nothing compared to what Meeple Like Us brought. I think Meeple Like Us brought is the vast majority of his game collection.
Right.
So he was absolutely knackered by the time that he'd finished in the bringing by. But yeah, I took 10 games into that, and I think I sold 7 of them, which was good.
Good result.
It was it was a good little money spinner for me. The best thing was that I managed to sell Feudum.
Oh. But I want to play it again.
Why?
Haha, I didn't really.
Oh, you had me going. Because I know fine well that nobody wants to play it again. Yes, Feudum is one of the few games that we've talked about in the podcast, because we have a tendency to play, to buy and play games that we probably like. We tend to give games
in most games,
at least at least a sort of average review and above. But Feudum was one of these Kickstarter games that I got, which we attempted to play once and made us angry.
We had a tough
and we
time.
did we did absolutely slate it in that podcast review that we gave. And I think it's a game for a very specific type of person, and I really hope that the person that bought my copy of Feudum is that specific type of person, or they're going to be a very angry person as well.
I'm sure they probably know what they were buying, I think.
I do hope so.
Yeah.
But I was very anxious about selling Feudum, because I really didn't want to take it home again. So much so that I think I ruined most of Saturday by constantly going back to the bringing by to check if Feudum had sold yet. But it did sell. That I'm happy to see. But the bringing by is it was quite busy. There was a lot of games in the bringing by, a lot more than I was expecting. And the vast majority of them sold. I don't think there was that many left by the end of Sunday. I think on the Sunday there was a bit of a scrabble. There was a lot of people sort of getting towards the end of the day, I think the bringing by closed at 4 o'clock, and it was getting to that sort of 2-3 o'clock time, and a lot of people started going over to the bringing by and seeing what was there, and I think that was when a lot of the stuff started to disappear.
Did they do they didn't do a sort of 2-tier price list for this one, did they? Where you sort of set an initial price and then a second one that it gets marked down to.
No, I wasn't aware of that. But did they do that last year?
No, it's just something I've heard of that they do at these kind of things, so that if you want, you can have a second price that you can set later on if your stuff hasn't sold. But
I'm not sure if that option was there. I wasn't aware of it. I mean,
not.
I'm pretty sure if you wanted to go in, maybe change the price, maybe they would have been receptive to it. But But yeah, let's say it was all for a good cause. They made quite a bit of money by the looks of it, so that's good. That's excellent.
And it was well organised as well. They had a sort of slick system with all the barcodes and stuff.
Yes.
With pre-registration and all the rest of it.
It was all it was all digitised.
Yeah. I was very impressed.
It was all futuristic. Yeah, it was very good. It was very good.
They had a bunch of like grumpy men. So that was quite cool. Just keeping, just like any
Dave,
good,
they were running a tight ship.
Any good game shop. It's like a man who was clearly fed up of being asked, "What time is it? Does it start?" It was amazing. I loved that. Yeah.
So that was interesting. One of the other things we did, we actually did it on Sunday. We actually did book a game out of the games library. We took some time out from our busy schedule to play Tokaido, which is a game that we've seen. I've seen around. I've heard a lot of things about it. It's very popular.
It's my first encounter with it.
Yeah, so we decided, why not? Let's give this a go because I've heard a lot of good things about it. Dave, you've played this before, haven't you?
I have actually played it, yes. Prior. So even though I wasn't there on Sunday, yeah.
Now, Tokaido, as you might guess from the name of it, is a game that's set in Japan. And it's about a bunch of travellers who are moving along a road, and the idea is that they're kind of telling their own story as they go. Euan, you were quite a big fan of this game, weren't you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's quite a simple wee game. It is essentially, it's about your characters having the richest experience.
Yeah, that's right.
Travelling through Japan. And the interesting thing about that is it varies from, so the characters have kind of special abilities, like, you get in a lot of these kind of games, or a lot of board games in general. And those really do kind of quite dictate the way they want to try and play the game.
Yeah.
And I found it that it worked really well how that kind of played out. Man, it's a lot of sort of replay value in that one as well. I went a character who essentially just wanted to go to hot springs.
And that was what you did.
I made sure I went to all those hot springs. And got additional bonus points for going to hot springs and having sort of achievements in specific. Well, there was a bunch of sort of achievement things you could get, and it felt like quite difficult to kind of actually do the things you meant. It was weirdly stressful for a game that was meant to be about relaxing. But yeah, I just enjoyed all the little sort of stops along the way, and that's the thing, you do sort of get into the journey aspect of it. Even though it is kind of quite abstract in how it's quite a beautifully presented game as well.
Yeah, it's the artwork. The artwork is very nice. It is. Yeah, it's not over the top or anything. But it kind of. I like the way that the sort of cards, you get these little scenery cards and things that you're as you're traveling, you're supposed to try and see as much scenery, or that's one way you can win points. And despite the board being it's quite a white board, isn't it? It's mostly white, and but there's just little colourful bits on it, and you can build up your little scenery in front of you as if to say, I'm seeing something more than just this blankness sort of thing. I'm seeing something absolutely beautiful. So yeah, the artwork is very, very nice on it. I mean, I would disagree with you on a point though about Tokaido, which is that I didn't really feel like I was kind of going on the journey after a while. It started off quite kind of, that's quite cool the way they do this. But then I felt like just the gamesman in me just switched, and all of a sudden I was just gaming people rather than enjoying the journey sort of thing. I was like, no, how do I get the most points? Yeah,
I think that's where the sort of stressful aspect of it came in. I think depending on who you play with, you kind of you're going to get maybe a different experience of it. But I mean, that's essentially the theme and the idea of the game. But yeah, once you start, and it is there's not too many kind of moving parts to it. So once you start sort of looking at the game aspect of it, it does get quite competitive.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Dave, what were your thoughts on Tokaido? Has it been a while since you played it? Or?
It has been quite a long time, but I do vaguely remember that there's not a great deal to it. That was my main takeaway from it, and yes, it is very nice to look at. And I think I was saying earlier that there's like a big version of it where you can just appreciate the cards that much more because they're just bigger and sort of more tactile. And I can kind of understand it. Yeah, it's okay. I would play it, but I wouldn't play it a lot. Yeah. Or, I mean, like,
I get that.
Not every game has to be like that. It's just sort of, I can see it's like the sort of games I used to play with my gran, in a way. We'd just sit down and play them, and they'd be like very simple card games always. So they're not, there's not a huge amount of depth, or at least not in the way we played them, but we still enjoyed doing it. And it was just something that we kind of did together. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of nice. I agree with you, Chris, that I never really got that whole, like, I read about the whole sort of being on a journey stuff, and I think some people are projecting a bit hard, I think.
Yeah.
Like, a little too much. But
just imagine yourself in those hot springs, enjoying a nice okonomiyaki.
Is that one of the characters who just loves okonomiyaki?
When you get to the inns,
is there one who's really into pachinko?
There's certainly a character that looks like they should be, but I don't think pachinko comes into it. It should do.
Is it Ryo Hazuki? But yeah, we played Tokaido. I mean, one of the things that me and you were talking about, Dave, and we're going a little bit of a tangent off from Tabletop Scotland here, but I think it's worthwhile mentioning this game because it is something that we did while we were there. But one of the things that you and I were talked about before we started recording this was, would this game be as popular if it had, say, a sci-fi theme?
Yeah, that was the example I used, and I think we know what the answer is. It's like, definitely not. It wouldn't be coming up.
If you were moving from planet to planet, I don't think
it wouldn't be coming up in like every Amazon search when you like it comes up a lot when I'm on Amazon looking at board games. It will come up as one of the suggested games at the bottom, and I don't think it would be half as popular. But I mean, that's a legit thing. I mean, like theming is part of it. It strikes me
as the kind of game you would enjoy, Dave. I remember thinking this is a very Dave kind of game.
Well, it's not got any horses in it though.
Or rhinos.
Or brown jewels.
Oh no, let's not start that again.
Well, I was just about to say something, but let's not bother.
I mean, I think with Tokaido, it's a good light game to play quick, like that you can play quickly. I mean, the sort of playing time on I think like in the box it was like 30-45 minutes or something like that, and it is that kind of game. It's quite quick, but I mean that's because there's not a lot of decisions to make. It's just which point on the board are you going to move your guy to. It is essentially it. Yeah,
I mean it is what it is, as people love to say, and just because it's not like my cup of tea necessarily doesn't make it a bad game. And it's clearly there's a lot of people who like it and enjoy it as an experience. So that's fair enough. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I'm not bashing the game. It's a solid lightweight game, but yeah, it's very, very popular. Let's move on from that anyway. So that was Tokaido. That's designed by Antoine Bauza, who has done a number of really good things. He's done Seven Wonders and Ghost Stories and. So yeah, he's a very well-known designer. I didn't realise it was him at the time when we were playing it. But yeah, that came out in 2012, so it's actually a lot older than I thought as well. Okay, so let's actually get back to people that we talked to at Tabletop Scotland. Let's get back to that. And one of the people that we did talk to, and we actually played both of his games that he'd brought to the convention, was Justin from BadCat Games. So let's listen to what Justin has to say, because he's going to tell us all about it. Okay, so I'm here with Justin. You're from BadCat Games?
Yes, hi.
You enjoying the convention?
Oh, it's good, yeah, and it's good to see that it's growing this second year, so hopefully that will continue. It's a nice convention.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you do and who you are?
Yeah, so I'm basically I suppose the head honcho of BadCat Games. There's 3 of us in total, but I'm the one that's sort of calling the shots and getting told off when things don't work. But I'm also one of the designers of both of the games we have so far.
Excellent. Could you tell us about those games?
Yeah, so certainly the first one, Elements, was a couple of years back, actually probably 3 years back now. That was our first product, and really the fact that we exist, of course, is because of Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Many indie publishers. So Elements, we were really sort of testing the water. It's a really nice little sort of family-friendly dice chucker. I suppose it's most similar to King of Tokyo or Bang the Dice game. I suppose it's actually more like Bang the Dice game. But the idea is you're playing these big alien races. They come together every 7 years, and they're kind of like energy sorcerers, I suppose you'd call them.
Yeah.
And what they're basically doing is they're proving their skills and abilities at being able to control the energy of this 7th planet. But it's nice and blingy, really nice dice, coloured dice. And what was interesting was that we designed the original game as more of a dice chucker. As you're attacking the other players, you're draining energy from them, you're taking dice away from them, and it's a last man standing thing. But then friends of ours said, really love the game, but we generally only play 2-player, or play with my wife. So of course, me being me, I was going home in the car after a gaming session. I thought, actually, there's a few mechanics I could use to make a 2-player, and I ended up making a 2-player, which I actually now prefer. I actually play the 2-player, not the 3 or 4-player. So you actually get both games in the box, and they actually feel totally different, and yet the same idea of you're drawing energy dice to your side, and that gives you more options of what combinations to achieve, and then how to attack the other player and drain dice away from them. So use the same mechanics, but it feels two totally different games. So that was our first. That was on Kickstarter.
Yep.
And then the one that we launched this year on Kickstarter was Gladiatores, which is a totally different style of game. It's a card-based combat game. But it's interesting because you're not just playing gladiators, you're not just in an arena fighting, you're actually playing the gladiator schools. And so there's 3 different ways that you can gain glory, and that's your victory points, which you want to achieve and win the game. But what we wanted to make that was different this game to any other gladiator game that's currently out there or existed was that we went into the history of gladiators, just how much information is there about gladiators. And what was really interesting is the fact that the minimal amount of information there actually is very much focused on the sort of stars of the time, of the Roman era, the gladiators that actually fought and became famous. There are mosaics of certain gladiators, named gladiators, actually fighting, like on Pompeii and various other places. And so we wanted to put that in the game. So our game actually has real, sort of historically accurate gladiators as we can actually possibly make, and that's really fun. So they're named gladiators. So the idea is, being a gladiator school, is you're going in for various events and you have to hire the best gladiators that you can get your hands on to be able to then fight for you, and you have your own fan base that come and join you and follow you as you present gladiators in the arena. But these star players, these media superstars, they actually have their own fan base. So you're basically hiring their fan base to come and support you. And the reason for that is they bring potential glory, and you show off to the crowd, you impress the crowd, you gain glory that way, and that scores you your victory points. So that's really good fun. Recently, we were really pleased that the July edition of Tabletop Gaming magazine, we were in there, we got reviewed, and we got their must-play gold medal. So that's really awesome. For our second game, we're really pleased about that.
Yeah, definitely. We played it yesterday, and we had a lot of fun, and there's definitely a lot of that. The celebrity feeling of gladiators comes through in the game, and the showing off and all that kind of thing, and I was really impressed by it.
Excellent.
It's really a definitely good game. Have you got any other games coming in the pipeline?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We have about 9 games in the pipeline.
Oh, wow.
We have 2 planned for next year. Again, totally different. We don't want to be pigeonholed in a particular style of game that we produce. I mean, Gladiators, we already have plans for various expansions down the line. And in fact, the first expansion idea we have is to include animals in the game. It's the idea that the animals actually animal combat cards get shuffled into the decks, and then you never know when you're going to draw one of them. So suddenly you can sort of dodge a nasty cleave by one gladiator and suddenly find that you're facing a lion pouncing on you and this kind of stuff. So that element of not knowing what's going to happen, and so it puts a bit of pressure on how many cards you're actually drawing to replace your hand. So that's fun. But as well as the Gladiators sort of rolling on in the future, the one game that I'm particularly excited about is a kind of cross between Tokaido, Carcassonne, and sort of more tile-laying games. It's a resource gathering, worker placement sort of Euro style, but it's called Zen Monkeys because you're actually monkeys on the Mountain of Fruit and Flowers, working for or being a disciple of the Monkey King Sun Wukong. So you've got that whole sort of Chinese history mixed in there, the mythology of it, and yet it's actually a tile-laying game because he's told you to landscape the Mountain of Fruit and Flowers to best please him. But it's called Zen Monkeys because it uses the principles of Zen. So you're actually scoring your victory points against the other players based on how well you've achieved the 6 Zen principles in the design of your garden. So it's only going to be really nice to look at, and we're really hoping to get some miniatures. We've got a superb artist from Poland called Tomek Larek that's doing some really nice style, sort of caricature style monkeys for us, so we really want to have the monkey miniatures in the game, so it's going to look superb. But apart from that, we've also got a Cthulhu based game because everybody wants to do a Cthulhu game. One of those. But nobody, as far as I know, apart from like a couple of smaller sort of expansions to games, have actually focused on the Dreamlands. And I'm a huge Cthulhu fan because I've been GMing Cthulhu role-playing game for 30 years. And so we actually have put together a team of Cthulhu GMs of the role-playing game who are writing the stories for us, because what we're creating is a Dreamlands-focused card game, but it's very much a narrative-driven, multi-layered story. And the idea is that you're actually trapped within the nightmare of a dreaming 1920s pulp horror writer. So you're actually the sleeping, dreaming self of H.P. Lovecraft. And what you're actually trying to do is you're trying to escape Dreamlands by going through this narrative story. You're trying to find the key and the gate to actually be able to get out, but of course the slumbering gods are trying to prevent you from escaping. So you're going to have the whole sanity slide, and you're trying to sort of work your way around and sort of maneuver your way through the world. So trying to avoid the denizens mostly and try and get out. But it's card-based. It's story-driven, and it's not going to be an expensive game either. We want to keep it really contained in a nutshell, so it's something fun, it's something to experience that hopefully feels totally different from the likes of Fantasy Flight's Arkham Horror and games that are similar. Because, card games and the Cthulhu mythos have been done to death, but we think we've got something a bit unique there, so, what do you guys think? It sounds a bit different?
It does sound a bit different, yeah.
Well, I think you're right about the sort of the Fantasy Flight ones where they are kind of get quite similar, so it'd be nice to see something different in that vein. Yeah,
the fact I think that it's contained within the idea that you're actually trapped within the mind of a sleeping 1920s pulp horror writer, so you're sort of suffering all of that kind of sort of pseudo insanity.
That on its own interesting.
So,
I think very interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're still working on that one, but that should be coming out 2020 hopefully.
Excellent.
Again, probably through Kickstarter. I mean, it's the most sensible route, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Justin, thanks very much. That's been very interesting.
You're welcome.
Keep doing what you're doing because it's good work.
Excellent. Thanks.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye now.
Right, so that was Justin from BadCat Games. I like the games he brought, and I think that probably came through the interview because I did kind of I did fanboy a little because we'd already played Gladiatores and Elements by that point. Dave, you missed out on Elements because actually we played that on the Sunday.
I never got to become the Master Z.
You did not get to become the Master Z.
Wasn't given the opportunity.
Elements is like, it's quite a simple sort of Yahtzee style dice rolling game, but you're kind of like monsters fighting each other, and certain dice combinations you can do certain things depending on your monster, and it was quite fun, and so much so that I actually ended up picking up a copy of it because it was actually quite quick to play, good bit of fun, and it was different, something different from the sort of normal board games that we would play. So I thought that would be a good addition to my collection. But Gladiatores, I actually think that of all the board games we played that weekend, that was probably my favourite.
It's very good.
And I really appreciated all the effort he'd gone to, like historically, to actually look at the history of gladiators and the sort of celebrity culture surrounding them and how he tried to get that into the game. And I think that came across in the mechanics and, trying to win fame and all that kind of thing, and like favour of the crowd. And definitely, I think that's one that I'm going to keep my eye on. It's not out yet. It's still going through sort of finishing touches, but definitely I'm going to keep my eye out for that. And BadCat Games also going to keep my eye on them.
Well, it's going to retail, hopefully.
Yes.
Gladiator is, so you should be able to get a copy if you want. It's a really cool...
It deserves to be massive.
Wow.
Just plugging it there.
That's... You said it so weird, though.
Yeah, no, why did you do that?
I mean, and that's not even like you can't even use that as like a little quote thing. Like, because that's just not a...
It deserves...
It does, like, that implies that it's not massive. It's like...
It sounds sarcastic.
Well, it hasn't really come out yet, has it?
Oh, yeah, maybe you can use it.
We should give him a quote, but I think maybe that's the quote there, Euan. It hasn't really come out yet. You can put that in the box. Just
what am I playing then?
But yeah, like I say, Gladiatores, really enjoyed it, even though I went out of the game early, because everybody picked on me. But it was such a good wee tactical card game, and getting across that sort of exhaustion mechanic where you kind of run out of cards at one point, and all you can kind of do is sometimes just dodge things or just take a swipe at somebody, but then you've got nothing left in the tank. It's good sort of to and fro.
Yeah, it's so clever the way it's been done with the, and it's like easy to play. Like, someone plays a card and then it shows you which cards you can play next. So that's good. You don't even have to think about the actual card playing bit. You have to think about other stuff in the game. It's not that there's no decisions to be made, and that's a good thing, because it's one of these games where two people face off against each other, and while they're doing it, everyone else has to just sort of sit and watch. So that bit does need to be like as streamlined as possible, because if you're playing with 4 players, because there's other games that do that, like that. I'm not going to remember the name of it. There's a game, the Games Workshop game that Fantasy Flight had, that went out of print. That wasn't Chaos in the Old World. You've played it.
Because actually, because one of the things I said when we were at the convention was that actually this game did remind me a little bit of Blood Bowl Team Manager.
Yeah. No, it's not that. It's the one where you've got lots of little battle fleet ships and you move them around, and there's like 4 factions. It's quite a sort of long form game, and I forget the name of it. But one of the things that it has, or Civilization has this as well, is that 2 people face off against each other in battles and almost play like a mini game. That only they get to take part in it. And so whenever you do something like that, you have to design the game very carefully so that other people that it doesn't go on too long, and other people are like, at least in this one, can you bet in this one? We didn't play the betting.
No, we didn't, but you can bet on.
So that's so like that matches. That's sort of one way that people can be at least a little bit like invested in what's going on, is that they bet on the outcome. And there's a definite to and fro to the, so there's an element of unpredictability that can look like someone's going to win and then it turns out that they don't. That definitely happened a few times. And that totally, like you said, that it does such a good job of simulating what we think that these gladiatorial combats must have been like, with last minute comebacks and the whole crowd interaction as well. It was pretty great.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So
good work there, BadCat Games.
Do you think it was pretty great? We'll get on the side of the box. I hope so.
Oh yeah, we think this game is pretty great. No, but genuinely we do. So yeah, let's get on to something else. So we spoke to Kenny in the last episode. You heard the interview that we did with Kenny, who brought half the games library, or roughly half. He brought those through from Glasgow, but there was somebody else that brought the other half of the games library, and he brought it from much further afield. So let's listen to Darius.
Okay, so I'm here with
Darius.
Darius, and you are from?
I'm from all the way from Kent.
All the way from Kent?
Sunny Margate, I'm from, yes.
And what is it that you do?
So I run a board game group called All Around the Board, and I also run UNCON Convention, which is at the moment on a little break, but we are organising one for 2020 November. So we're really looking forward to running that again, but in the meantime I've got my little club to run and look after, and the great guys down there. So
excellent. And what brings you up to Tabletop Scotland?
Well, David and the team, wonderful guys, known them for a little while. Last year we brought our library up after the tragic accident that happened over in Glasgow, and Kenny couldn't get to his library. And I've been talking to David for a little while, and he said, I jokingly said, I'll load up a van and bring my library. And he took me up on that offer and said, let's do it. You're crazy. And then this year he said, will you do it again? So that's what brought us up. But last year, apart from the fact that even if we were bringing the library this year or not, we'd have come anyway, because it's a fantastic event. It's my favourite one in the UK. Our one. No, honestly, it's my favourite in the UK. I mean, we go to quite a few over the country, and this is really, really, really friendly. Yeah. The atmosphere is great. It's just chilled. It's great. We've got loads of games in, loads of new things. We've been doing some extra bits like model painting, as you can see my daughter's been doing. Yeah. We've been just chatting to people about RPGs, which is something we don't normally do at a con. So, we're not just board gaming that we're into, but we've got all these other hobbies that we can do. So, yeah.
Oh, excellent. So I've got a question for you. That,
sure, okay.
It's kind of more personal to me, but I mean, I've always wondered what the gaming culture's like down in Kent, mainly because I spend some time there.
We have obviously we've got a lot of followers in Thanet, and Thanet is the island which is on the end, or was once an island. Margate, Broadstairs, Ramsgate, and there's a massive gaming community there. We also draw in a few people from sort of Herne Bay along the north coast. Yeah. We've had some people from Whitstable. We're slowly getting some people from Canterbury, but Canterbury has their own gaming zone anyway, because they've got Dice and Destiny down there. Great bunch of guys there. They do not only Magic the Gathering, but they do board games. There's a lot of concentration on that. So Canterbury area is really great. I know that Tunbridge have Stag, which is a really sort of active group. I still haven't got over to their club, unfortunately, being West Kent, but I know a few of the guys over there, lovely guys. Ashford as well, it's got a massive gaming group down there. So when we do the con, they don't come to our Monday nights, but when we do the con, we get a lot of support from Canterbury, Ashford, Medway. Medway is sort of like Rochester, Gillingham area. Yeah. Strangely, we also get a lot of on the border between Essex and Kent, sort of around that area. Yeah. But not West Kent. I don't know why.
Tell us a wee bit more about your convention.
Okay, so UNCON was started 2017 in July, and I just put on a gaming day. A lot of people said, we like what you do on a Monday, we just wish you did it on a Saturday. So I did, I booked out a hall. We just did it as a free of charge, just donation to a charity, and we had 80 people turn up. And bearing in mind, we're just this little island and nobody really knew us, and we had games like Splendor, Sentry. It wasn't really sort of a massive library either, and we run some werewolves, and people really enjoyed it. And then what happened was, a friend of mine jokingly said, it's like a convention, and I said, an unconventional one. UNCON.
And it came from there.
Suddenly social media had tags. UNCON was great, UNCON was brilliant, because I jokingly just started calling it UNCON. We actually had people say, when's the next UNCON? And I thought, okay, when shall I do another one? So I did another one around it was October, it was Halloween weekend. Being new to this whole con organisation, I did it the same weekend as Essen, and I didn't think a con in Essen, in Germany, would be a bother. And it was, but we still had 60 people.
Yeah.
A one-day event again, and it was like, okay, that was really great, and they were just local people. So I said, for the third one, we're going to do it properly, we'll get a proper venue, we'll reach out to, because we've been to HandyCon. In fact, that was the only con we'd been to, actually, apart from our own. We went there, saw how they did it, and we're like, okay, this is like 600 people that are all here playing games. And we decided to do it properly, and we ended up with 180 people. And again, that was just local people. We didn't even reach out further than Kent. So we knew the base was there. And a lot of people told us, move nearer to London. I went, why? There's already cons near London. I was a little bit stubborn, and I said, no, we're keeping it here. So we did a fourth one, and 240 attendees, and we were getting Medway people from London, Luton. We had the likes of Yay Games come and joined us. East Street Games joined us. So suddenly we were getting sort of designers in, well-known designers, and it kind of spiraled from there. Then we'd done our fourth and our fifth, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. It got to the point where I did need a little break. It was just me and my partner were running a whole com.
Yeah.
And I just said, I really need a team. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking a year, because we were doing 6 monthly. I said I'm going to take a year out, really replan. We've got some investors, we've got some other designers who want to back us, and we're going to do it again, but bigger and better. People have just got to wait another year, I'm afraid. So, and in the meantime, we get to enjoy cons like this. So, yeah,
and that's always fun.
Yeah. A little bit of history.
Yeah, good. No, it sounds like it's becoming really successful. And it's a great hobby. So we don't do it for the money. We do it for the love of the hobby. As long as we break even, that's what matters, because then we can keep running it. But we absolutely love it. It's a great atmosphere. We do it for the kids. I've got my 7-year-old Jess, who is painting over there, who absolutely loves the hobby, and I think it's really important. I think especially for families, it's a really important hobby. I know people think it's sort of nerdy, but it's really not. It's really educational, it's really social. Yes.
We need that in the modern day, I think. Really need that.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly. So come into the games library.
Okay.
How did you get them up here?
We hired a 9-seater van.
A 9-seater van.
6 of us in the van, because the team came with us. Last time we only had 3 of us, this time we've got 6 of us. We just folded down some seats, got them in the back, and drove up here. And we actually played some games on the way. So the middle seats folded down like a table. So we grabbed the games out of the back. We played Patchwork Doodle. We played some other sort of portable games. It was fantastic.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
A little bit of a road trip, bit of a laugh. When you're in a van with your mates for 11 hours, that's how you get it. I know we should have flown, but we couldn't get the library in a plane, so we're taking a van. And that's how we're getting them back tomorrow.
So you were here last year?
Yes, we were.
And how do you feel that this year compares to last year?
Well, last year obviously was their first one.
The first one, yeah.
And that was fantastic. I think if I didn't know it was their first one, I would have thought this was here for years.
I would agree with you, yeah.
I love the fact they've gone with the 2 halls.
Yes.
I love that it's so spacious. One thing I must say, being a sort of running cons, I love how much space they leave between tables, especially for some big guys like myself. But I think it's just accessible, and it makes it feel more relaxed with the more space, and I love that they got the 2 halls. I've been flicking between the 2 halls actually, and it feels like a completely different atmosphere. Yep. Both good atmospheres. I haven't spent a lot of time upstairs because I know that's the RPG, and I think next year I might spend a bit more time up there. Hopefully, if it's here next year. I just think they've really improved. I know it's just the second hall. I've noticed they've got a big game over there. We haven't managed to play. They've got the simulator. I didn't get a chance. Unfortunately, my little one was too young.
I wish I knew, because we had the spare slot.
Oh no!
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. That's how it is. But I mean, I just love the fact that that's an additional thing. Lots more stalls, lots more designers. I've been playing all sorts. It's great. Yeah.
Right. Fantastic.
I love the growth, and I really hope that it still grows. So yeah.
Good. Glad to hear. Right. Well, thank you for speaking.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Well, that was Darius. Bit of a trek, bringing all those games up from Kent. For those of you that aren't aware of UK geography, you've got Scotland in the north, and Kent's as far away as you can possibly get. So,
how did he bring them up?
But yeah,
like in a van.
Yeah, I think he did. He brought them up in a van. But he did it last year as well. He brought them
in a van
2 years in a row. I think. Well, as you heard. So yeah, he's like he says, he's got his own convention on the go and that kind of thing. And I wish him all the best for the future, because he was actually just an absolute lovely bloke, and it was just like nice chatting to him, and I really enjoyed it. Now I think we've got one more interview to drop in. We'll give a little bit of background on this one as well. This is with DMB Games. Now, as you'll hear in the interview, DMB Games, I think originally they were just making scenery for tabletop games, and it was mostly like fantasy scenery, and it was really nice. The stuff that they make was incredible. So like proper, 3D dungeons and that kind of thing that you can buy and put together. We did set these, again, as you'll hear in an interview, we played a bit of the game that Andy had designed, and we gave some feedback. Dave, I think you were... He was quite interested in your feedback in particular, I think.
He hadn't asked for any feedback, I just gave it to him anyway.
You really went for it with the feedback.
But yeah, we gave it to him. But I mean, he did say that he appreciated it and everything.
Yeah.
And I think you gave him something to think about. He was, again, an absolutely lovely bloke who'd made the journey up from the south of England. I think he'd come up from London area, judging by his accent. And yeah, let's listen to Andy
Was he
talking
in the
about...
with Darius. Sorry.
I'm leaving this in. So let's listen to Andy talking about DMB Games and what they do.
Hey, I'm here with Andy from DMB Games. Andy, how are you enjoying the convention?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we were here last year and it was great last year, and it's good to see how much it's grown this year. So yeah, it's going really well.
Yeah, it's a much bigger operation this time. So Andy, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do with DMB Games.
Okay, so DMB Games, we make 3D terrain for tabletop games. It's all handmade, hand cast, hand finished. And then we also are in the middle of writing a board game to go with the terrain, a dungeon delving game, which we got here this weekend to play test.
Yeah, we play tested. We went through a couple of rooms yesterday with you in this game. It's a Roseburn Manor. Yeah. Kind of narrative dungeon crawling game. Is this your first sort of game you've actually produced yourself then?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's the first game we've written and produced. It's my homage to all the games I enjoyed as a child. Hero Quest, Advanced Hero Quest, those sort of things. With our background and all that sort of stuff, but a full world and all that sort of stuff.
So can you just talk us through how your game sort of works? And I know I can definitely see that it's like influenced by things like Hero Quest and that. Can you just have a quick rundown of how Roseburn Manor works?
Yeah, so it's a narrative-driven dungeon delving game, and it's based on 4 heroes versus an overlord player. The overlord player is Lord Claudius, whose manor it is that you're exploring during the game and finding out all its secrets and what Lord Claudius has been up to and all that sort of stuff. The turn breakdown is the heroes have a turn, then the overlord has a turn. It's action driven, so you get 2 actions and a movement each turn, so that you can perform various things like move, attack, that sort of thing. And then each character has a deck of power cards, which are powered by their power points, and they allow them to do special things like block, special attacks. The wizard can do area effect spells using it, that sort of thing, which is all fully upgradable as you go through the levelling up and XP of the campaign. And each quest has an objective and has decision points in it. So as you're playing through the game, you affect how the end of each quest happens. We're making different choices and doing different things as you go through. And then at the end of all of the quests, you'll have found out what's happening and you'll have the whole story behind the game.
So I was enjoying yesterday, you've got a book of lore there essentially. You were telling me that's how it started.
That's right, yeah. So it actually started as I wrote an RPG location for my home role-playing group, my D&D group that I've been running for far too many years to mention. And then I just didn't stop writing it until it was all full up. And I thought, well, this is great, I want to share it, but I didn't really want to release it as just like a standalone location, just as like a short adventure location. And I've always wanted to do a game and write something. And so all of the quests and all of the story all come out of that background document. So it all that's how it all links together. So yeah,
it's really interesting. It's still in a sort of prototype stage, would you say?
Yeah. So it still needs a little bit of balancing, but we added a new mechanic to help with the power curve as we do the campaign. So when we first made it, it was it worked really well as a standalone sort of one-shot type thing, but we really wanted to have that campaign element and that levelling and the storytelling element to it. So we had to adjust a few of the mechanics to to make sure that it didn't get too powerful too quickly. And that's what we're playtesting this weekend, and there's still a little bit of balancing around that needs to be done. Some great feedback from you guys last night and the other people that played it this weekend. So once we take all that into account, I think it'll be ready. We just need then some artwork, and it'll be good to go.
Excellent. Now I can see you make some amazing terrain.
Thank you very much.
Now, in terms of Roseburn Manor, what would come in the box for that? What would be your plans for that?
So, as far as Roseburn Manor is concerned, it will just be all the rule books, the quest books, and the cards that you need. We're not going to put miniatures or scenery in the game. One, because, as you already said, we make 3D terrain. So, if we included enough 3D terrain in the box for the way that the game runs, it'd be very expensive. Also, getting card art tiles done is also quite expensive and didn't really seem worth it when we already make terrain. But the game is designed for most of the quests are done on a random dungeon. So as long as you've got some dungeon tiles, either our own or from other games, or you've got a dry erase mat and a pen, you'll be able to play the game. So you'll get all the tokens, all the cards, and all the booklets that you need to play the game in the box. And then it was the same with the miniatures, because we have skeletons and giant spiders and the general fantasy creatures. We'd either have to get some really, really nice sculpts done to make them stand out, which again is very expensive, or include an awful lot of miniatures to make it worth adding those miniatures to the collections you already have, which again is expensive. So what we decided to do was not do that, but put that money into the game itself, giving you much more content in the game rather than doing a short campaign and then 4 or 5 expansions to make up for the lack of gameplay because of the tiles and the figures. We've just gone straight ahead and put all of that stuff in, which is why we've put the campaign in with all the levelling and all that sort of stuff, so you actually get a full game, akin to sort of some maybe the starter sets of the D&D box games and that sort of stuff, like that kind of content, plus all the characters. We've got 8 base characters to go in it, and there's just over 600 cards in the box set, so there's quite a lot in there.
It's an interesting choice because it gives people the choice of what they want to do with it at that point, because if you want to bling your game up, you can. But I'm assuming doing it the way you're doing it's going to keep your costs way low.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, when we were looking at the printing of the cards and stuff, and it'll allow us to use nicer materials. It means that we can do on the table we've got little crystals for health and power points rather than cardboard tokens, so we can do nice bits like that in the base box. And it's an opposed D12 mechanic that I've written for the actual game, so we can include more dice and we can have nicer dice rather than to go for really cheap dice. We can make sure that we get quality dice that are balanced and will roll properly rather than having to go for whatever we can get in the box for the cost that we need to. So we can provide some really nice pieces in there and do things like have dry erase character sheets, and we're looking at all that sort of stuff rather than just having just paper character sheets you have to throw away, because we're not spending out all that money on the miniatures and the cardboard tiles. We've got that extra funds there to make the game nicer.
Excellent. Yeah. Cool. What are the plans for the future for DMB?
We have a list of tiles as long as I've lost count of how many notebooks I've got of tile ideas to do. So that we're definitely, I say me, but there's loads more scenery to come. But also, obviously, assuming that Roseburn Manor is well received, with that background document, there's an awful lot of expansion content we can do. Obviously, we can write endless campaigns to go with it. So there's that sort of thing. We're also working on, we've just started work on a tabletop skirmish game. So sort of a cross between something like Frostgrave and Roseburn Manor, where you have sort of a team of heroes as a party going against other teams of heroes. So with a little bit of a Necromunda vibe, where you get your team costs and your upgrades and your skill upgrades and all that sort of stuff. But again, based in the Roseburn universe. So we've just started working on that. And we've got ideas for other games, dice games, card drafting games, and so as well as again, if Roseburn is well received, D&D supplements or role-playing supplements set in that world as well. So hopefully,
sounds interesting.
That's where we'll be going with those. So.
Well, excellent. Thanks for talking to us.
Well, thank you for stopping by.
All the best for the future.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of the competition.
Well, that was Andy from DMB Games, who very much enjoyed our feedback.
Yes.
Or Dave's feedback.
It was mostly Dave, but we did give him feedback, and I quite enjoyed the game, Roseburn Manor.
Aye.
I do like games that have dice pools.
Yeah.
As I've always said, despite the clunkiness and the bloatedness of the World of Warcraft board game, I absolutely love the combat system in it. And I got the same sort of feeling out of the combat system in this, except obviously way more streamlined. Because you were doing things like using the little skill cards that you had for your class in order to get extra dice of different colours, and the dice had different things on them that would help you in certain ways. And I do enjoy that kind of thing, just sort of building up a dice pool for your attack and sort of customising that dice pool for whatever you're fighting. It's something that I quite enjoy in these sort of fantasy style games. So yeah, that was something that I really liked about the game. It is very much still in a prototype stage, and I think there's a lot of tweaking that will be done to it before it's anywhere near ready. But I wish him all the best for it, because he's, again, absolutely lovely bloke. It was a pleasure to talk to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, such a nice guy, and I had a great time playing this game. And like I said at the time, it so reminded me of playing Hero Quest, and that's what he's going for. Though it's intentional, it's not by coincidence that it was like that, and that's a great thing, because Hero Quest is amazing. Just not even advanced Hero Quest, like just regular Hero Quest Hero is still kind of great. Like in a. There was a copy in the bringing by, but too expensive.
Oh, by the way, we know someone who has an original copy of Hero Quest.
Oh yeah.
So we should maybe get him to bring it round sometime.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
Oh, I mean,
it's pretty immaculate, Euan, isn't it?
I've played it with him. I personally found it a drudge of an experience, but I mean, your mileage.
It does run on a little long, the original Hero Quest, for what it is, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it's such I don't know, there's just something about it. Like, I wouldn't play it every weekend, you know what I mean? Be running a vanilla Hero Quest campaign, although you can do that, because there's sort of limited content in the box, so there's a lot of, like, just fighting goblins, if you see what I mean.
There's a lot of fighting goblins.
But there's just something about the purity of it that really attracts. Like, you've got 4 classes in the Hero Quest box, and that's it. You've got your 4 classes, and they're like such like cliched, like stereotypical classes. I just love it.
Dave, this was the 80s.
Yeah, but it's still amazing now. It's like, now everything's like, just everything has to go the other way, and
demon hunters and
and I mean, we
spellcasting.
We love Legends
fighters.
We love Legends Untold and their cool, funky classes. That they have, where you're like a whatever,
where you're basically a peasant,
or like a merchant banker, or I can't remember,
hedge fund manager,
yes, sort of bricklayer.
That's a prestige class, hedge fund manager.
And that is all great, but there's something great about just being like a dwarf with a back.
Just being a dwarf. Yeah, I love the fact that dwarf is a class. That's one of the great things about Hero Quest. You're not fighter dwarf, you're just dwarf.
You're just a dwarf. You know what the dwarf does. They have an axe. Yeah. They like gold.
Yeah, drinking beer.
Yeah, and I mean, the great thing about Roseburn Manor that I loved about it was such like a passion project, and the whole, when I saw the book of like lore that had been prepared for it, just as the sort of background for the game, I think that's just amazing, and I love stuff like that, and I love when people put so much of themselves into something. It's like just the greatest, and to be able to just experience it is like a kind of privilege, I think. So yeah, it was really good.
Yep, fantastic game. I mean, I wish him all the best for it, because there's definitely something there. Like I say, I think it does need tweaking. We did give him our feedback. But there is definitely, like I say, there's definitely something there that he can run with. Mm-hmm. And I really hope he keeps working on it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we've almost run out of things to talk about for Tabletop Scotland. So,
we went to
Dave,
Lidl.
do you want to... yeah, I was going to say, do you want to give us the Lidl roundup?
Yes, well...
Did you enjoy your trip to Lidl?
It's become a tradition now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's now Tabletop Scotland tradition that we go to Lidl for lunch.
Break for Lidl. And...
It's nice to get out of the Jewer centre.
And go around the corner to Lidl.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be careful crossing the road, though. It's just watch what you're doing there. It's a busy road. But yeah, and then it's a big Lidl. And they have all sorts. I bought a lot of stuff. I was very hungry.
You did? you had a basket. I couldn't believe my eyes.
Yeah.
They have a nice bakery section, though, so
yeah.
I mean,
You've got to make it count.
That's always a treat.
Yeah, they do.
You gotta get some focaccia.
Exactly. They do a nice goat's cheese focaccia or whatever's on
it. I love those goat's cheese and pesto, sun-dried tomato focaccia. I mean, they're lifesavers.
They're a quality item.
Beautiful stuff. Is that your highlight of Tabletop Scotland trip to Lidl?
It was definitely a big part of it for me, and I don't think I would go if I couldn't go to Lidl. Well, I mean,
right, but all joking aside,
were you wearing your rhino mask when we went to Lidl?
Yes.
I feel like you might have been.
I did. But I didn't have it down when I went through the till because I thought that was maybe a bit. I had it just on my head.
Yeah.
You have to brandish your face for CCTV.
Exactly. Yes.
Brandish your face.
Yes. You have to wield it. You can't be wielding any other any armour.
Oh, no, it was great. What did I get? I got like brioche for the drive home and everything. It was amazing.
Oh yeah.
Can I have a few brioche for the car?
Oh yeah. It's de rigueur.
Right. But all joking aside, should we pick our favourite thing about Tabletop Scotland?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Let's do that. You can go first because I need to think about it for a second.
I think I know what mine is.
Okay, well, if we're talking about because I think pretty much we all enjoyed the Starship Bridge Simulator.
But that aside,
But if we kind of put that aside, then my favourite sort of experience there was definitely playing Gladiatores. I have to say, I actually think that was my favourite game there. We didn't play too many games because we were doing kind of podcasty things. But in terms of just like the games that we played, Gladiatores wins it for me.
I also like Gladiatores because I won.
Because you won, yeah, you won.
I wrote that down. I came second. But there's really no coming second in the world of Gladiatores. It's first, first or nothing.
You win or you die.
Indeed, in the game of gladiators.
Yep.
Also, it's not called Gladiatores.
It's just gladiators.
It's just gladiators.
I noticed that when I was reading the flyer. I was like, wait a second, this is how they've just spelt gladiators.
Yeah. I mean, that's what everyone's going to call it. But obviously, when Justin was there telling us about it, he's like, it's just gladiators. But yeah, I mean, I did really enjoy that. I did really enjoy Kitty Cataclysm. But
yes,
I think that was perhaps situational as well. Not like it's a great game, but I think the reason I enjoyed it so much was because Chris was mean to a child. It was.
Hey, let's get this right, okay? The child was mean to me first.
There was a lot of
girl meanness back and forth.
It's like, right, I'm taking
you
no
out. Excuse,
I'm taking you out of this game. It's like you don't
all
know
things. Oh yeah, that's it. All things are level when it comes to gaming. Okay. No mercy. If the parents of that child are listening, I do apologise.
Yeah, I mean, I like Gladiators.
Please don't write any letters.
Yes. But I mean, it's the one. It's not the. It's probably one of the ones I'd be most likely to buy. But I mean, I did buy Kitty Cataclysm as well. So yeah, I mean,
okay.
The whole thing for me, the whole Saturday was pretty great, and they can write that on the flyer for next year.
Dave says.
Yeah, the whole thing's pretty great.
I would agree. I think that they did an absolutely brilliant job, considering they made it twice as big. they handled it really well, and it was so well organised. I'm pretty sure that they were constantly running around putting out fires, but nobody noticed.
No, it wasn't.
Which is what you want, and that's just a sign of good management. So absolutely well done to the Tabletop Scotland team.
I'm looking forward to next year already.
Is it going to be even bigger?
I don't know.
Is there going to be a third hall?
Well, it's going to be in the car park.
Yeah.
Like outside the building.
I mean, it would make sense to bring in by there.
There's the swimming pool next door.
Of course.
Yep. We can get that. We can get actual walk the plank.
I see. Now that would be great.
Oh.
I think you'd get a lot of takers for that.
Oh yeah.
So yes, let's wrap up here. Has anybody got anything else they want to add about Tabletop Scotland?
Have we got a moral of the day?
You've got a moral of the day? Well, I'll let you decide that, Euan. It's just like Radio 2 thought for the day.
Yeah. Pronounce gladiators right.
Spell it properly as well.
And make sure you have you've put enough power to shields.
Thank you very much, Euan. That is an excellent note to end on.
Good.
Okay, if you want to contact us, you can do so at firstplayertoken@gmail.com. That is FIRST player token. If you want to get any links to our social media or our YouTube, anything like that, you can go to our website, which is firstplayertoken.com. But if you want to contact us in a hurry, if you really want to see where all our chat is, it is mostly on Twitter, which is at 1stplayertoken.
At once player token.
Thank you very much, Euan. Okay, well, we will hopefully start getting some regular episodes out very soon. I'm not promising there's going to be one next week, but
no.
We're hoping that
sooner rather than later.
Yes, we're hoping our lives will start to calm down a bit in the next few weeks. It is taking a little bit longer than expected, but there should be some stability coming soon. And at some point, Pavel will rear his ugly head and join us again.
Yeah, I know.
Looking forward to that.
I want to hear what he has to say about Dynasty Warriors Total War.
Oh.
Not a board game.
Oh, yeah.
I've been waiting to hear this for like 3 months now.
This is the thing, we've got a backlog of video games that we really need to talk about.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've also got a backlog of board games that we need to play, so there's a lot of things that we could be talking about, so we should really get some episodes out soon.
Yeah.
It's in the pipeline.
It's in the pipeline. But until then, thanks for listening.
Bye.
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 Going to be the end.
That's with the last.
How do I switch this?
How do I switch this? There's a lot of me mucking about.